He had breasts when he was 13, but he did have surgery to reduce that. He would never take his shirt off when we would all go swimming like the other boys were doing and everything. He would always keep covered up. And as a matter of fact, when we got older and we were intimate with each other, he would always keep his shirt on.
Bobby Joe Long had Klinefelter syndrome, a double X chromosome in the cells, and has a number of negative consequences, one of which is gynecomastia, the development of breasts in men. And you can see how a child or an adolescent would be brutally teased, for a boy developing breasts.
So first of all, he has the humiliation of his own body. And then he also had to undergo a number of surgeries to get these breasts reduced, which also is embarrassing and painful and would probably make him resent women.
13 years later, in 1984, across the state on the Gulf Coast, 2 women working the Tampa Strip had been brutally strangled by a single killer. As police pursued the cases, the body count continued to rise. 2 more women were murdered in quick succession, but the MO appeared to be at odds with the first 2 victims.
That was the body of Elizabeth Laudenbach. She was fully clothed. She was not bound. There was no obvious trauma to the body.
At the next murder scene, Detective Gary Terry observed differences even more significant than the last.
The property owner came out of the sod farm. On this particular evening, after dark, he locked the gate and then walked over to the barbed wire fence here. And it was at this location that he actually discovered Chanel's body. It was lying underneath the fence. While there were some similarities, the biggest difference was the fact that this victim was black, not white like our previous victims. And another big difference was the fact that she had suffered a gunshot wound to the back of the neck.
Despite these discrepancies, Chanel Williams had been a prostitute working the Tampa Strip. Forensic examination of both crime scenes would irrefutably link all the murders to just one killer.
The evidence was sent to the FBI laboratory, and sure enough, it came back red trilobal nylon carpet fiber. So actually, this was our 4th homicide victim and the 4th case in the series involving the same suspect.
While they continued their search for a suspect, investigators would learn that the perpetrator's desire for death and destruction was becoming insatiable.
At one point in the investigation, we were finding a body about every 2 weeks.
The time spans are so short between them that you just, every time the phone rings, you just kind of cringe because you know it's going to be a call to respond to another scene.
The fear was thickening. The police were baffled, and the bodies kept turning up.
He's maturing, he's progressing, and he's enjoying what he's doing, and he's going to kill again.
Just 1 week later, this prediction would be proved right, when 28-year-old Karen Dinsfriend was found strangled to death. The former prostitute was yet another victim who had been working Tampa's infamous strip.
They all had the same lifestyle. They all came from basically the same area of town. So we started focusing our attention to that area.
This was a horrible realization. The working girls from the strip, those working there, were scared to death.
They knew what was happening. They knew about the victims. Some of them even knew the victims, and they were petrified. But that was the only way they could make money.
The police started talking to the club owners and trying to get some clue about suspicious-looking people. But as one club owner said, everybody walking in here looks suspicious.
Despite a heightened state of alert, the day of Halloween would bring another gruesome discovery to the east of the city.
We respond to the scene and we find the mummified remains of a female victim lying in the ditch.
The body would later be identified as that of Kimberly Hobbs. The 22-year-old prostitute had been viciously strangled, and once again, the twisted killer had unwittingly deposited the mysterious red fibers at the scene.
How high is the body count going to go before we catch this guy? You know, how many other victims are out here that we haven't discovered?
"11 years before the carnage began, over 270 miles away in the city of Hialeah, troubled teenager Bobby Joe Long had made a positive impression with one of his contemporaries.
There was a park that a lot of the kids used to play at, and we would go there after school and play football with the boys, and he came one day, and that's when I met him. He was very nice, a very funny personality, and a lot of fun to be around, and we just hit it off right away.
He wasn't anything out of the ordinary. He was just an average kid. It was a little bit of a wise ass.
As Bobby's attitude deteriorated, his school life would start to suffer.
He was a poor sport, didn't like to lose. He did manage to skip school as much as he could possibly get away with. And I don't believe he even graduated high school.
He was not accepted at school. It was his manner more than anything else. Mostly he was scrappy. Mostly he was brash. He was not refined in any way. He used to fight a lot with other people. He would never back down from an argument, and it would eventually turn into blows.
Local hunting expeditions with friends would often inspire the worst in Bobby.
You always want to go a step further. We used to do a lot of spear fishing. We had regular spear guns, but he had bought these two attachments. They were called power heads, and that you would unscrew the spear and the screw on this attachment, and it would hold a 12-gauge shotgun shell. He goes, "I'm gonna go down and shoot that shark with this power head. I gotta see what it'll do." And he went down and blew it away, shot it right in the head, and the thing just never moved. And he came back up very, very excited about what he had just done. He just had to see the damage.
Long was a very sadistic individual. His sadism just poured out of him. And one thing he said, which was interesting, was he really didn't understand what made him do this. And that's probably true.
Despite these displays of aggression, one girl would stand by him. Childhood sweetheart Cindy was convinced Bobby Joe Long was her destiny.
As soon as I met Bob, I just, a young girl in love, and I just figured that was who was going to be my husband. And we dated for, several years. We had a lot of fun together. We'd go to the movies, go spearfishing down in the Keys, run around the neighborhood as younger kids and paper people's houses. And I mean, we weren't bad kids, but we were mischievous. He was a very caring person, and, I was, I guess, his prize catch or something. We were best of friends.
Over a decade later, across Florida, Tampa Bay remained in the grip of a killer. Having gruesomely murdered 6 innocent women, the twisted perpetrator was about to come face to face with 17-year-old Lisa McVeigh. During 1984, Tampa Bay, Florida, was plagued by a sadistic serial killer. Just 4 days after the discovery of his 6th victim, Kimberly Hobbs, the perpetrator would act again. Lisa McVeigh recalls the terrifying night she was grabbed from her bicycle and bundled into a car. During the ordeal that followed, she was blindfolded and led to a murderer's apartment.
I was thinking to myself, I need to get some type of information on him. Who is this guy? What's he look like? And if I can't see him through my eyes, I'm going to see him through my hands. We're in some type of apartment. It's fresh new paint. It smells very new. He directs me to the bathroom, orders me to take my clothes off, and we step into the shower.
Despite being subjected to repeated abuse, Lisa learned to placate the man, whose anger was fierce and unpredictable.
His demeanor was very aggressive. I mean, I did what he told me to do. I was afraid if I didn't, he would kill me. Then he got in the shower, and it was like night and day. It was like a fantasy for him. It was like he started bathing me, started washing my hair, and he was trying to touch me gentle. He would hold me for a second, and all of a sudden become this aggressive monster again. It was like 1 minute he was calm as a 4-year-old child, next thing he was a raging bull. I remember that we had a conversation, and at one point during the conversation, I asked him, I said, why are you doing this to me? He said he was doing this to me because he was getting back at women in general for a really bad breakup with another girl. And then right after that, he puts my hand on his face. And again, he starts to soften up, like he's trying to live a fantasy of a boyfriend or girlfriend relationship. He guides my hands over his face. Now I'm seeing what he looks like. He's got a pockmarked face, a small, clean-cut mustache, small ears, small nose, thick eyebrows, short hair. It was like I just saw him through my hands.
After 26 torturous hours, Lisa was convinced that her end was near.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, he got me dressed. And he asked me, what am I supposed to do with you? And I said to him, it's like, why I'm blindfolded and still tied up. I said, listen, this is how I played on his heart. I said, listen, I know you said that you've done this to other women before because you're broken relationships.